Imagine this. It's the middle of summer. The sun is cooking your skin like leftover pizza in a microwave. You find the perfect swimming pool. Crystal clear water. You can see the bottom. The sunlight dances through the surface. Everything about it screams, jump in immediately. And obviously, you do. Except, you don't splash. You don't sink. You don't even break the surface. Instead, bonk. You hit the water face first like a pigeon flying into a glass window. The pool is solid, completely solid. Now imagine looking down through that transparent water, seeing fish, plants, ruin, an entire world below you, and knowing you can never touch it again. Congratulations. Welcome to the edge of water. And honestly, this might be one of the most unique survival worlds I've seen in years. Now into this cursed world enters our protagonist, Heidi, a young girl suddenly forced into responsibility way too early, and immediately, life punches her directly in the soul. At the beginning of the game, her parents die, which is already devastating. But the game doesn't give her time to process grief, because survival comes first. Humanity survives through giant migrating villages floating across the ocean surface. Basically, imagine a fishing village mixed with a pilgrimage. Mixed with everyone is one bad day away from starvation. And Heidi suddenly becomes responsible for guiding her people. No pressure, just the survival of an entire village, at like 12 years old. Meanwhile, I panic when someone asks me to order pizza over the phone. The setup sounds simple at first. Humanity used to live underwater, not near the ocean, not beside it, under it. Imagine Atlantis. But people actually paying taxes there. According to the game's lore, humans once lived in harmony with the sea. Everything was peaceful. The oceans provided food, shelter, life, and watching the trailers honestly feels dreamlike. Massive underwater civilizations, ancient ecosystems, fish swimming through glowing ruins. It looks beautiful, which means humanity obviously ruined it. Because if humans discover paradise in fiction, we immediately start speedrunning environmental destruction. Classic humanity behavior. The game explains that humans betrayed the trust of a sea spirit named Sue. And no, not Sue like your aunt from Facebook Marketplace. Sue is basically the divine spirit of the ocean itself, a living force connected to the sea. And humanity took too much, not necessarily through war, not some anime villain speech, just slow greed. And eventually, the sea spirit had enough, so humanity was cursed. But here's where the game becomes genius. Most stories punish humans by drowning them, floods, storm, Atlantis sinking. But in the edge of water, humanity is punished in the opposite direction. They are expelled upward. They can no longer swim, ever. Instead, they are forced to walk on top of the water forever. That is horrifying, not because it kills them, but because it tortures them psychologically, every single day. Thankfully, Heidi isn't completely alone. She has a small juvenile fish companion swimming beneath the surface. And this little fish is incredibly important, because symbolically, it represents connection. Remember, humans are separated from the underwater world, but the fish still belongs to it. The fish becomes a bridge between both worlds. And suddenly the story changes. Because Heidi isn't just surviving anymore. She's reconnecting, repairing, learning harmony with the sea again. And that becomes the emotional core of the game. Think about how cruel this actually is. The ocean is completely visible beneath them. They can see everything. The world they lost is right there, under their feet, fish swimming below, ruins of old civilizations, the depths they once called home, but they can never return. It's like living outside your childhood home forever, but every door is locked. Or staring at your Steam library during exam season. You can SE happiness, but you are spiritually blocked from reaching it. That's the real punishment, not death, separation. The game turns the ocean into a transparent prison floor, and psychologically, that might be worse than drowning, because drowning ends. This curse continues forever. Most games use water as freedom. You swim through it, explore it, escape through it. But here, water becomes a barrier, an invisible wall. And honestly, this changes everything about the atmosphere. Because every single moment in the game reminds humanity of failure. Every step literally walks on top of guilt. That's such a powerful idea. The ocean itself becomes a monument to human arrogance. And the craziest part, the sea is still alive. It still provides food. It still gives life. Humanity isn't abandoned completely. The sea spirit didn't wipe humans out. Instead, the punishment is, you may survive, but you will never belong here again. That hits hard. Now here's where things get weird in the best possible way. Despite the tragic world, the gameplay actually looks fun. Like genuinely fun. Heidi uses a giant kite to move across the water, and somehow this thing works as a surfboard, a sail, a parachute, and basically a physics experiment held together with hope. She rides waves, launches off giant lily pads, glides through the air, builds momentum across the water surface, and visually, it looks amazing. The water physics especially are incredible. Every movement creates ripples. The ocean reacts to your motion. And suddenly the curse itself becomes part of traversal. That's brilliant game design. The punishment becomes the movement system. But honestly, when I first saw gameplay footage, I got confused. Because the story is deeply emotional and tragic. Meanwhile, Heidi is out here doing aerial kite tricks like she's training for the Water Olympics. At one moment, I'm contemplating generational guilt. And the next, she's flying across the ocean like Tony Hawk's Pro Sea Spirit. The tonal contrast feels strange at first. But then something clicked. The movement itself is the healing. That's the genius. Humanity's curse forced them to stand rigidly on the ocean, treating water like solid ground, like something to dominate. But Heidi moves with the water. She flows across it, learns its currents, works alongside nature instead of controlling it. She literally dances with the punishment, and suddenly the gameplay becomes symbolic. Not just traversal, not just go from point A to point B. It becomes reconciliation, an apology in motion. That is such a cool concept. One thing the game absolutely nails is atmosphere. There's this constant feeling of isolation, huge open water, distant ruins, tiny villages floating in endless oceans. It gives off this melancholic, dreamlike vibe, like humanity survived, but never emotionally recovered. And honestly, that feels realistic. Because imagine generations growing up knowing the ocean beneath them was once home. That trauma would shape entire cultures, religions, stories, probably even memes. Imagine future ocean memes. Bro fell through the water. Immediate national tragedy. A lot of indie games try to be deep, but usually it means a sad music plus blurry lighting plus somebody whispering about depression. The Edge of Water actually builds its themes directly into the world mechanics. That's the difference. The curse affects everything: movement, survival, architecture, migration, psychology. The entire game world exists because of this one divine punishment. That level of thematic consistency is rare, especially for indie games. Now, I don't know if this is a problem with the demo itself, or if my GPU is slowly approaching retirement age, but the shadow system was fighting me the entire time. Sometimes the character shadow would just fade away completely depending on the camera angle. And in a game filled with tiny precision jumps over endless ocean water, that is not a good combination. I'm pretty sure the game is using some kind of screen space shadow technique, because the shadow feels unstable whenever the camera moves. And then you add FSR upscaling on top of that, which can sometimes create shimmering, ghosting, or weird shadow artifacts. And suddenly every jump starts feeling like a trust exercise with the game engine. There were moments where I genuinely could not tell where my character was going to land. The shadow became so faint it was basically a spiritual suggestion instead of actual visual feedback. And remember, the game already gives you low air time, low air control, tiny wooden planks, minimal landing space. So when the shadow disappears too, congratulations. Now the platforming section becomes Underwater Dark Souls, sponsored by gravity itself. Surprisingly, the enemies in the demo are actually pretty easy once you learn their attack patterns. The small fish enemies mostly just rush toward you with simple punch attacks. Then you have the hornmouth fish, which throws bombs in these slow parabolic arcs that look dangerous at first, but after a few encounters, you can dodge them pretty consistently once the timing clicks in your head. And then there's the larger spike-nose fish. These guys are a bit more aggressive. They use long thrust attacks and this spinning tornado move that honestly feels very inspired by classic Naughty Dog enemy design. After a while, combat deaths almost completely stop happening. Once you understand the patterns, most fights become pretty manageable. And then the demo drops its biggest oh no moment right at the end. This gigantic sleeping sea beast starts waking up, and honestly, I'm pretty sure those weird singing fish caused it. The entire demo keeps showing these creatures making these haunting soundwave noises that can literally crack stone apart. Not magic explosions, not lasers, just pure vibration and pressure from their voices. Every time they scream, the environment shakes like the ocean itself is resonating. So by the finale, it feels like all that noise finally reaches something ancient deep below the water. Something that absolutely should have stayed asleep. The camera slowly pulls back, the rocks begin trembling, the massive body underneath the ocean shifts slightly, and suddenly the whole demo stops feeling like a small survival adventure. Now it feels like we accidentally walked into the opening chapter of a cosmic underwater disaster movie.